Hey guys, welcome back to Shop Foreman Garage. Today we're working with World Car Auto Group, and today we are looking at this 2014 Kia Soul. Customer is complaining about the vehicle having a ABS light, ABS light, traction control light. It's coming on intermittently, flashing, whatever. Anyway, it's on right now, so let's come on. Let's look at it. Let's look at it. Oh no. Yep. It's got an ABS light on. It's got the traction control light on. And they're not blinking, they're on solid. So you can look at this. They are on solid. Okay, so let's check the codes and see what we got here. I do have the KDS set up right here, and I did check the codes, so let's see what codes we got. And it looks like we have an active code in ESC. It's C1206 for wheel speed sensor, rear, left hand, open or short. Oh God, so we do have a speed sensor issue, and it could be a speed sensor, it could be wiring, HECU, stability control module. No matter what, we're gonna have to diagnose this thing. It needs to be diagnosed. And if we go ahead and we go through the flow charts, they're gonna have us ohming out circuits, checking voltages, hooking up oscilloscope, you know, and stuff, and we can do that. But there's an easier way to check this out, and I'll walk you through the way that I check them out. It's not guaranteed, but it is a faster way, faster than ohming out circuits and stuff like that. And then of course, if you know it doesn't work out, then we're gonna have to go through the flow chart and start from the beginning, checking voltages, ohming out circuits, hooking up oscilloscopes. And let's dive into this and see what's the easy way to check this out. And let's do that right now. Okay, the first thing that we want to do here is clear the code. It shows the code is active, but is it really? I mean, the customer stated that the light would come on and off intermittently. So an intermittent issue is definitely different than an active problem, right? So the code shows active, so we're gonna go ahead and clear it and see if it comes right back. If it's active, it should come right back. So let's check it out. So here's the code right there, and it shows that it's active. I am going to go up here and I'm going to erase the code right there. So do you want to erase the code? Are you sure? Yeah. So it is erasing. Okay, so it's erased. In order to find out if it's come back or not, we need to hit rescan. So it's rescanning, and we're just rescanning the ESC system, the electronic stability control, and there it is. It shows as an active code. So it's definitely active, and that's a good thing. Whenever you're diagnosing vehicles, if you can't duplicate the issue, then it's you know, like shooting in the dark. You just there's no way you can diagnose it if it's not happening like right now. So getting it to act up is definitely the first stage of diagnosing any problem that you have. So let me show you how we can just check this out. Just make sure, because the customer did say that intermittently the light would come on and off. It's active right now, doesn't mean that it's not intermittent. But let's just check and see. What we're going to do is we're going to get out of this, go to the home screen, and we're going to go into the data, and we're going to go to data for ESC, hit OK, and it's going to bring up the data. And what we're looking for is wheel speed sensors, wheel speeds right here. So I can click on each of these, bring them up here. It shows that the left rear wheel speed sensor is going 254 kilometers per hour, right? So I guarantee you ain't going 254 kilometers per hour right now, because we're sitting right here. And what I can do is I can go over here to the wheel, and I got the thing off the lift. I can kick it. Of course, this thing is not going to change because it's got a code set on it. We could check the other side and go over here to the right rear, kick it down, and see, where is it? Why do I only have 3? Right front, I missed one. Right rear, there it is. There it is right there. Let me kick it again. And it shows that it's going 5, 4, 3 kilometers, 2 kilometers per hour, 1 kilometer. So it is counting up, and it is working on the right side for sure. Left side, it ain't working at all. So it could be a bad sensor, it could be bad wiring, it could be bad HECU, which is basically the hydraulic electronic control unit. We need to get in and we need to diagnose it for sure. So I'm going to show you how we can use this scanner as an oscilloscope in a sort of way, and find out if it's a bad sensor, if it's bad wiring or whatever. But let's look at the wiring schematic and see what we need to tap into and where potential problems could possibly be. So let's check that out right now. Okay, here is the wiring schematic for the rear speed sensors. Here is the ESC module. These are the rear speed sensors, right and left. And so we have these wiring harnesses coming from the ESC module to the speed sensor. We have this big harness, a CF11, which is probably more towards the front of the vehicle, maybe kick panel on the driver's side or passenger side possibly. And then we have the actual connectors at the speed sensor. So we're gonna go and do some swapping. Okay, these sensors will not come out unless you pull the entire hub assembly off, but I have a way that we can test using one sensor to test another circuit, and we know that the right sensor is good, everything's working here, and something's not working on the left hand side, so we need to check it out. So let's do that now. Okay, so here we are underneath the vehicle. I have the key on, and I have my scanner hooked up right here, and we're gonna look at the sensor. So this is the left speed sensor, and you can see it's way in there. And here is the right wheel speed sensor. Usually there's a grommet that's supposed to fit around here, and that's supposed to keep water out and stuff like that. This doesn't have those grommets on. I don't know why. Somebody took them off. You know, maybe it was being diagnosed at another shop or something like that. I mean, if that's the case, you know, why didn't they fix it? Anyway, so if we look at the data, which basically we've already kind of looked at, right here we show 254 kilometers an hour. I could change that to miles per hour, but it doesn't really matter. It's supposed to be at 0. Let's see what happens if I disconnect this. They're not too hard to disconnect. Connecting them back up, that's another issue. Okay, so it's disconnected. Now let's see. It's still showing 254 miles an hour. Let's try and disconnect the right one. And get my hand in there. Get that disconnected. That's what the connector looks like. And let's see what that does. Okay, so we can see how the thing's gonna react. So the left and right are both 254 kilometers per hour. So that is telling me that we got an open circuit. We got an open circuit on this side, because whenever I disconnected the one on this side over here, that's an open circuit because it's disconnected, and it's showing 254 kilometers per hour on an open circuit. So now we need to determine, is the open circuit in this harness somewhere up there, or is it a bad sensor? So I am going to show you how we can hook this thing up and we can see, you know, if it's a sensor issue or a wiring harness issue. And I'm going to use this wire right here. Let me get this set up and I'll show you how I set it up, and we can get this diagnosed. Basically, what the flowchart is going to want you to do is going to want you to put a oscilloscope on it. It wants you to hook the oscilloscope up to the sensor and then spin the tire, you know, and see if we see a reading on the oscilloscope. And we can do that. We have an oscilloscope. We got VMI, which will hook up to this and stuff. There's a bunch of wires, you know. I mean, it's like the things in a hospital bed, you know, with wires and tubes and stuff all over the place. It's a bunch to take out and hook up. It works really well, but we don't need to get all that. We can use the KDS and this data list right here to diagnose it. And I'll get these wires hooked up and I'll show you how we can do that. Okay, I got these connectors hooked up. Let me show you how I got these hooked in. So I got two terminals going up into this sensor right here. All right, I got these two wires coming down and they're going into the connector on this side. All right, so they're going into the connector. On my data, it still shows 254 kilometers per hour. Well, the problem is we need to clear the code. As long as the code is not cleared, then it's still going to show that. So I am going to go into, and the vehicle is still, the key is still turned on. That way we can communicate and everything. So I'm going into the ESC system and I'm going to check the codes, and it's going to probably have codes for both sensors. Let's see, it's checking the codes right now. Okay, it shows an active for the right hand, and it shows a history for the left hand, so that's kind of good. Let me erase these codes. So it's good. It's kind of showing a sneak peek of what we're going to do right now. Basically, it's showing that the right hand has an active code. And of course, as it should, because this connector right here on the right hand side is disconnected. It's showing a history code on the left hand side. The left hand side is actually connected to a sensor that we know is good, and we know it's good because we spun the wheel and everything was working fine. So let's go back into data. I'm going to look at the data, and let me get into that. And what we're going to do is we're going to, so basically it's like swapping sensors, right? So we're going to turn the right wheel and it should show that the left wheel's turning, and if it does, we know the harness is good and we already know this sensor is good. So you know, that is basically what we're looking for. So I'm going to select the wheel speed sensors, make sure I get them all. And this is what we're looking at right here. We show the right rear at 254 kilometers per hour, but the left rear, nothing. So if I go over here and I spin this tire, get back over here, and there it is. It's counting down 5, 4, 3, and that is the left rear. Only we're spinning the right rear. So that shows that everything, this harness and stuff is working fine. You know, it's not the harness. It's got to be the speed sensor. Now we can double check that. I mean, Why not? So it's easy to say just from the point where we disconnected the sensor on the other side and it showed the exact same data that the left side showed. You know, you can pretty much say, well, it's an open circuit or it's a bad sensor. You know, at that point you can say, man, it's probably a bad sensor. You know, let's just put a sensor on it. Or you could come to this point right here where we know for sure it's got to be a bad sensor. It has to be, you know, so let's just put a sensor on it. But there's always that point in which you don't know exactly for sure. And you sell a sensor to the customer. Customer's like, okay, you know, I'll spend the money, I'll get a new sensor, you know. Then you put the new sensor on and it doesn't work. And uh-oh, now what? You know, I mean, we've all been in that situation, and it's not a situation that you want to be in. So it's a good idea just to double check and make absolutely sure that what you're seeing is the correct thing. So what we're going to do is, and we don't need to, we're pretty sure that that sensor is bad and the left side, but let's swap these. Let's see if we get any reading from the left wheel speed sensor through the good wiring harness, which we know is good, on the right side. And my guess is we're not going to get a reading because we know it's a bad sensor, but let's check it anyway just to be sure, because it gives you peace of mind whenever you go to sell that sensor to the customer. You know that's going to fix it, because it's a bad feeling. I mean, believe me, customers, they get mad. They're like, you told me this was going to fix my car. And you know, technicians feel the same way. They feel bad. They're like, oh my God, I knew that this was the problem, but it's not the problem. And let's just double check just to make sure. So let me get this hooked up the opposite way, and then I'll bring you back and we'll check it again. Okay, I got this one hooked up to the sensor on the left hand side, and it's hooked up to the wiring on the right hand side. And I can tell you right now, there's no use in even going any further. When you look at this data, we don't even have to try and spin anything. It's showing 254 kilometers per hour on both sensors. I did go in and clear the code just to make sure, and so the code cleared, and yeah, it's bad. It's a bad sensor. You can't even spin it. It's not going to matter. The data's not going to show anything. It's defaulting to 254 kilometers per hour. And that's because this sensor is reading this wiring harness on the right side is reading the sensor that's bad, and then the wiring harness on the left side is not reading anything because it has it's an open circuit. It's disconnected, so it's a bad sensor on this side. So let me go ahead and sell the sensor to the customer and see if they want to do. I'm sure they do. They brought it in for that issue. So and these sensors are not that expensive. We're going to have to pull this. We're going to have to pull the wheel out. We're going to have to pull the hub, brakes, all that stuff. The entire thing has to come out in order to get that sensor out of there. We need to pull the whole thing off, and we need to go over to the workbench, and we need to take the sensor off and put the new sensor on, put everything back together, and then retest it. Let me see if the customer wants to buy it, and hopefully we got the thing in stock. And we'll get back whenever I get an answer, and I'll let you know. Okay guys, we sold the part to the customer, and we're gonna go ahead and do that job right now. I have the part right here, so let's look at it, make sure it's the right one. Get this open. Yep, that looks right. That is it. That's the sensor. It's got a sensor on one side. This cup goes on the back of the hub bearing, and there's the connector. The connector that you saw like way on the inside, that's it right there. So let's get this hub pulled out of here and get it over to the workbench and start working on it. Alright guys, here's the sensor on the hub assembly, and as you saw, it came out just like that. And this wasn't too hard to take off. Two 14mm bolts to pull the caliper off, two 14mm bolts to pull the caliper bracket off, two Phillips head bolts to get the rotor off, and then four 14mm bolts, these right here, to get the hub out of there. And just minor bit of persuading, you know, with the hammer right there. So let's get this sensor taken off, and let's put the new sensor on. And I need okay, so I don't have any workbench space because of that right there. That's the drag and drive car. All the workbenches are just filled with the junk from that. So let me clear off some workbench space. Hey, if you haven't seen the list on this thing, any of the episodes, there is a playlist for this, and I will link it right up here in the corner. Go and check it out. See what all we're doing with that. As a matter of fact, there's going to be a new video coming out on this, probably next video. And while you're there, go check out Shop Foreman Garage on Facebook. Follow that. You know, let's get back to this. Let me clear off some bench space, and we'll get this thing put together. Okay, I got pretty much everything I need to put this on. I have this, of course, right here, and we're going to be using this vise. That's what they say to use. So, and then I got of course, the new sensor. Got a hammer. Got a thin edge chisel. Hopefully that's thin enough. And I got this. This is a special tool for putting it back on. So the first thing that we want to do, let's turn this light on, is we want to put some marks on here for where this thing lines up. We want to get this thing lined up exactly perfect. And if you look at this one, they're pretty much the same. So I want to try and put some kind of mark right there. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. No matter where this thing sets, it's still gonna read it. But I gotta be able to get my hand in there and get the connector connected back up. So we're gonna start right there. I'm gonna hook this in here, tighten this up. Make sure I'm not messing up the threads on any of the studs right there. Make sure that you can see this. So where's it? So right here, we're gonna start to knock this apart. That's the way they tell you to do it. I don't want to go too far. I just want to start hitting it so you can see it separating a little bit. Hopefully you can see that. And I want to start hitting it on the other side too. We want it to come off pretty evenly. there it is. And because of this reluctor wheel right here, they call it a tone wheel, reluctor wheel, whatever you call it. This thing cannot be bent. This thing with all these little holes in it, it goes up against this sensor right there, and as it passes by, it picks up, you know, really quickly. It's like, yeah, there's something there, no, there's nothing there, yes, there's something there, no, there's nothing there, yes, on, off, on, off, on, off, like that. And if this is bent and moved away from that sensor just a little bit, then it won't read it. A matter of fact, it might, where's my screwdriver? I think this goes into here, this side, and it is magnetic, so it passes through this right here. Anyway, if this is bent a little bit, it won't read it correctly, and you're gonna have fault codes and all kinds of stuff. So now that we got that off, I'm gonna take this out of here, and let me get you set up so you can see what's going on. Okay, this is fairly simple. You can see my marks right there, and so this is going to go on about like that. Try and get this in between those marks right there. Like I said, doesn't have to be perfect. This goes right on top. They put this little thing so you can see where this is at to make sure that you're on your mark. And then we're just going to smack this thing with a hammer. And that's pretty much it. Let me make sure. Okay. All right. So there it is. It's on. It went on fairly straight. It wasn't perfect, but I've bent those reluctor wheels before, and they can be a pain. If it's off just a little bit, I mean, you can straighten them out, but it's hard to see with a naked eye if it's straight enough. You know, that's how precise this thing is. So I've accidentally bent one before, pulling the thing off like that. It bent. I straightened it out, like that's good. I put the whole thing together, put everything on, go drive it. It has a code for, you know, erratic sensor or whatever like that. Take the whole thing back off completely, take it off, look at it, try and figure out where it's bent, try and straighten it out again, put the sensor on, put the thing back together, go drive it, erratic speed sensor, I mean over and over and over, taking the thing off, putting it back on until you finally get it right. If you can't get that right, I mean, the only thing you can do is replace this entire hub, which will come with the sensor. This sensor, I think it was like about $65, $67, something like that. So it's not that expensive. But the hub, yeah, the hub is probably more expensive. So we got that on. Let's get it back on the vehicle and see what happens. You know that feeling you get whenever you tell a customer, hey, this is the part you need, this is all you need, and the customer says, yeah, go ahead and do it, and you put the part on and it don't fix it, and you just get that feeling. Well, hopefully we ain't got that feeling. So I got the vehicle hooked up right here with the KDS and everything's turned on. I'm gonna go ahead and check the codes. We're gonna check the codes for ESC only. We don't worry about anything else right now. Let's see what we got. It should have a code, at least in history, I would think. We'll find out. Yeah, so it says no current codes. Go to state, we go to history, and it shows both wheel speed sensors. Of course, we were kind of messing around there. So let's erase all DTCs. Let it go through that. So that's a good sign that it didn't have the code there. I'm gonna go back to home, back to data list, ESC, hit OK. And let's bring up these wheel speed sensors and see how fast we're going. And this is looking promising. Just get them all right here, and we got nothing. No kilometers per hour. That is a good thing. Let's kick a tire. Kick a tire and see what happens. So I'm gonna kick this tire. It's the one in question, and there it shows 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 kilometers per hour. Why is it on kilometers per hour? We're in America. You know, I don't know. It's just said like that. And let's kick this tire. And we got the same thing, 8, 7, 6, and that is on the right-hand side. So everything's working. It's all good. It's fixed. I'm gonna go and drive it, make sure everything is good and it doesn't set any codes. And that is pretty much it. So instead of pulling out the oscilloscope and all that stuff, we just went ahead and used the KDS scanner and used the data as our oscilloscope to see what was going on. And we found out it was just a sensor and it wasn't the wiring. We tested the wiring and the sensor actually by swapping it, like that, without even taking them out, just using a couple wires and some connectors that were meant to go into those pins. I forgot to mention that those connectors were the right size, because you don't want to be sticking just anything into the ends of those terminal ends, because you could actually cause bad pin tension. I just wanted to mention that. But everything's all good, and I'll go drive it, and it'll be done. Thank you so much for watching. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out Shop from Our Garage on Facebook. And I will see you in the next one.